Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to focus on how to solve puzzles. And we are going to do so by solving puzzles survival on Puzzle Rush on chess.com. It is going to be very interesting, and I'm going to explain what's in my mind while I'm calculating and how to solve chess puzzles. It's going to be very much fun. You can also pause the video and try to find the best answer. So without any further ado, let's start. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting and challenging to see what amount of puzzles can I solve. So here I can simply capture the queen and I can capture the rook and it's a mate. Okay, so we have this position where black simply played this. So at the starting puzzles, you can already identify is there any way to checkmate the opponent king. Here I can already checkmate the king via a rook to d8 check. And generally the best way to solve any chess puzzle is to follow these three simple rules, which is check, capture, threat. First try to look for checks, then try to look for some captures, and then finally try to look for some threats. Here I can already capture the rook, it's a mate. Here it's once again it's a check, and here the second probability is to play rook b8 check. Here it's a mate because here black can simply capture the rook. Okay, so we have king h1. Now knight into f2 is simply a mate, I believe. Rook over here. Now I can capture the pawn and it's again a mate. It's again a mate. Now I can already give a check and capture the bishop. That's a mate. Here I can give a check like this. So there are three checks, or you can say four maybe. One is over here, second is over here, third is over here, fourth is over here. But the problem here is with these three checks with the queen here is black can easily capture the queen. So the only check that is remaining is check over here, and it's a mate. And knight over here. And now I'm already having these two ideas. Check my opponent. If queen f2 check, white can capture it, but after queen into g2, the bishop is covering the square, so it's a mate. Okay, so now we have this position. Now, again there is three probabilities, which is g4, rook h6 and rook h8. g4, the opponent can simply capture it, rook h6, the opponent can still capture it. So here I can give a check, can give another check, and here it's a mate. Check, check, and it's a mate. Okay, so now again I'm having like four ways, or you can say even five ways to check my opponent. Here black can capture it, here black can capture it, here black can capture it, here black can capture it. Only square is this, where I can simply checkmate my opponent. Once again it's a mate. It's a mate. And here once again, like there are many possibilities now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 possibilities. So this is not going to work. This is not going to work. This I don't feel that these two moves are going to work because the king can run away. So the only move that is left here is check here, and I can push the pawn and checkmate my opponent. King over here. And now looking some ideas, like the pawn is going here, our pawn is going over here. So like the one idea I'm able to see here is to capture the pawn, takes, and take this. But then I guess white is having 4 moves, whereas I'm also having 4 moves. But I will make a queen with a check, and I can capture the opponent's queen. Like you can simply calculate, like takes, and now it's white to play. So white needs 4 moves. We also need 4 moves. But the moment we make the queen, it's a check, and the opponent's queen is hanging, so it's all correct calculation. So knight into pawn. Now first thing is to count the material. That's the best way to do so. Like we are having 4 minor pieces, our opponent is also having 4 minor pieces. Our opponent is having 7 pawns, we are having 6 pawns, so currently we are a pawn down but there are two ways to capture the pieces. If I try to capture the bishop, the queen is hanging, and if I capture the knight, I believe nothing is happening. Like queen h5, I'm having queen f7. And it's winning. And queen over here. Now again, looking at some check options. So there are two ways to check my opponent. If I try to capture the rook, the opponent can simply capture it back. But if I capture with the rook cannot capture because the rook is pinned. So the only way for black is to recapture it with the king, but then I can use my other rook to checkmate the opponent king. So that makes all a good sense, and I can mate him and knight into pawn. Let's try to see. And here once again, like black is having tons of options, starting with checks, but the most obvious option is this mate. Now we have a mate like this, we have a mate like this, which can also occur through fool's mate. And now, okay, yeah, we have this very interesting position, and we can start with this first check, and then we can actually capture the knight. Takes, queen takes the pawn and capture the rook. f6, and now we can just simply play queen h5 check, takes, take, and capture the rook. Knight takes the queen, and now I want to checkmate my opponent, but the square is covered up. So first I'm having this check, forcing the king to go inwards, and then I can simply do a back rank mate. There, like this. Pawn push. So now here I'm able to see this check where the king is forced to go away, and the question is then how to continue. Like I'm able to see this check, capture this, and mate him. So I feel this is the best option, so let's do it. Knight goes over here. How to continue? Okay, so I think I found it. My idea is to give a check. If the king goes over here, we can give a check and capture the queen. So if the queen comes over here, now we can again give a check and capture the queen. So it all makes perfect sense. And now we can actually even capture the knight because king takes and we can capture the queen. The king goes over here. How to continue? Opponent's pawn is going this way, our pawn is going this way. Yeah, I think like I wanted to start with a check, but I believe it's not really working because the king can simply run away. But an interesting thing I'm able to notice here is I can give a check like this and put the rook over here. Because if it takes, I can make a queen faster, and if it takes the pawn, I can capture the rook and I can simply shove the pawn and win the game. And I believe it's working. Yeah. So knight over here. And how to continue? Okay, so I'm able to see this knight g4 check where the king moves and I can capture the bishop, because like definitely we have this open king but nothing is happening. I believe I'm thinking of knight g4, but white can simply capture it and nothing is happening. So knight g4 looks like the best option and simply capture the bishop. But first we need to make sure to count the material. We are having like this over here. Let's exchange it over here. So basically white is having two minor pieces for the rook, but opponent is having 3 pawns and we are having 6 pawns, and so we are basically materially up. So there must be many ways to win, but the simplest is to capture the bishop and take over here, and it's winning. The rook over here. Is there anyhow we can mate our opponent from this position? Yep, we can simply play rook d6 and it's a mate. And once again I'm thinking, starting with a check, the king goes over here, I can play this check, push here, takes, bishop g7, queen h7 is, queen g8 is mate. So yeah, let's play. Bishop e6, how to continue? So starting with the most common approach with a check. And if I try to count the material is like black is having 7 pawns, we are having 7 pawns, so material is even. If you start with a check, the opponent is having 2 ways to run away. Moving the king kind of doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe bishop d7, but then we can capture the pawn at least. So definitely this looks good. And now we can capture the pawn and the queen. So the king comes over here, and I believe it's already a blunder by white, because now we can play this pawn push with the opponent's king is forced to capture it, and we can capture the bishop. This pawn is already blocked by the bishop. Okay, so king over here. Is there any how I can mate my opponent? Yep, there is the way. Like I want to start, like there are 2 ways to check. If you try to check like this, the opponent can capture the rook. So there are 2 ways. If I check like this, the opponent can run away. Like yeah, the opponent can go king a7, and I'm not really having this rook b7 check, rook g7 check, because the queen is guarding the square. So starting with this check makes a lot of sense, where the opponent is having only one way to go, and then we can simply play rook to g8 and it's mate, followed by capturing the queen. So let's play it. So we have this move, and now how to continue. So I wanted to play this, but here white can simply capture it as the queen is defended by the bishop. So the second check I'm able to see here is like this. And the point here is, if the king goes over here, I can give a check, bishop comes here, and I can mate him. And second, if the king goes over here, now I can mate him via queen to f2. Let's play it, and here we have the mate. The bishop to c7, how to mate our opponent is the question. And okay, I'm able to see that this definitely looks very tempting for white, and it should be winning. But the question is how. I wanted to start with a check, but it's not working, as the opponent can simply capture it and nothing is happening. So I believe moving the knight is the way to win. Somehow moving the knight somewhere to win a piece, because if I count the material, we are already an exchange up. White is having 5 pawns, black is having 6 pawns, but yeah, we are still material up. Yeah, so I think the winning move is knight to e6, because the queen is attacked, and at the same time the bishop is also hanging. Rook takes. How to continue? I wanted to play this, but nothing is happening. So the next thing I am thinking is some capture ideas, like maybe knight takes, maybe bishop takes, but nothing is happening. Then coming to the third step, can I somehow create any threats? I think I can by playing move g3 with the idea of capturing on h2 and its mate. So the only way for white to defend is to push the pawn to h3. But then I believe I can capture the pawn, take, king takes, queen takes, and king goes to g1. And I believe I can simply push the pawn, and it's winning, because the queen takes can be met with rook takes and the game is over. So let's do it. Take and push the pawn. And okay, rook check was a very interesting move. So if I try to capture with the rook, queen takes is white is having this queen take. So I believe the best is to take with the king, and we are winning. So yeah, how to win this position? Yeah, so I found it. The move is rook check, and the king is only having one square. And then I can check with the knight, but not with the rook, because after knight check, opponent is having only one way. I can bring my another rook now, rook g2 and rook g2 if mate, as the knight covers the g2 square. The problem here with getting the other rook into the game here is white can actually run away with king f3. So the best way is to simply block everything and mate him. And now we have h3. How to continue? So first, starting to count the material. White is having 3 pieces, black is having 3 pieces, black is having 7 pawns, black is having 8 pawns, white is also having 8 pawns. So basically, material is even, but how to win? Yep, I think I found the move. The move is knight to h5, because like the knight is hanging and this knight is also hanging at the same time. So if white tries to capture the knight, we can capture this knight. The rook is attacked, the knight is attacked, and we are going to win a piece. And now we can first capture the bishop and then capture the knight, and we are a piece up and winning the game. So knight takes the pawn. How to continue? So there are no checks, so looking for some captures, which is definitely to capture the queen. First counting the material is somewhat okay. White is a piece up for now, at least. Material wise, we are having 7 pawns. White is also having 7 pawns, but I believe we can simply capture the queen. White is forced to capture the queen. We can capture the pawn with a check, capture the rook, and the knight is actually trapped, and we have already won the rook, so it's winning. Queen takes the pawn on c2. How to continue this position? So black is having 2 minor pieces for the rook, but I believe I can already see the move, the right move, if I'm not wrong, which is to capture the bishop. Because if black captures the rook c1 is basically kind of like black is losing the queen because the queen already covers the c1 square. So let's try to do it, and rook c1 and win it. So now we have bishop into d4. So definitely starting with check, rook takes, bishop king goes over here. Is there any way I can mate him? Anyway, I guess I can take, forcing the king over here. Again a check, and then I can just move my rook and it's mate. So yeah, definitely it's working. And okay, we have this rook to e1, and can I mate him? Starting with some checks, like white can take the queen on h3. And how to continue? I don't see any continuation, so it looks like a wrong move. Can I capture something? I can capture the rook, but the rook can simply capture it back. And now coming to the third idea, which is threats. Can I post any threat? Any particular threats? Yep, I can, I believe. Like there are some ideas with some queen g3 or even queen to d2. If queen g3, white have to defend it via maybe rook e2, maybe defending it. And can I win now? This is the question. I believe I can get the knight into the game. Like counting the material is kind of even. So if I try to get the queen over here, rook over here, knight over here, nothing's happening. But I believe queen g3 is winning, because if rook g1, now we can get the knight over here and queen over here, and we can capture the pawn because of her takes. This is hanging. So it kind of feels queen g3 is the move. Queen d2, I'm thinking there is a problem, that it's not really exactly working. Queen g3 looks like a right move. Yep, queen e4, and the question is how to continue now. Okay, so how can I continue? So I believe I can play this rook over here, attacking the queen and capturing the pawn at the same time. If white gives a check, we can simply fall back, and the threat still remains the same, and it's winning. So now we have f5, and again the question remains the same: how to continue? Can I give a check? Pawn push, I can take, rook over here, I can take, king over here, I can check here. Okay, first counting the material, like white is a piece up, sorry, black is the piece up, but not for long. I believe it's winning. Yep, because after rook f7 we can at least capture the rook, and we are at least an exchange up with a winning position. So now we have queen to d7. How to continue? Okay, so I'm first trying to look for checks, but nothing is happening. Coming to the second point, which is capture. I'm thinking to capture the bishop, or even somehow the pawn. Or like the third idea which is coming to my mind is the third idea, which is to play knight c4, attack the queen and the pawn. I believe it's not working because after queen takes, like nothing is happening. I can't play rook d1 to attack over here because the queen d3 is nearly game over for me. Queen take doesn't make any sense. Black can capture it and capture over here. I'm thinking knight c4 now, because like the queen have to move and then we can capture the pawn. So black is not really threatening anything because the queen is already covering the h1 and g2 square. But I believe this is winning because you can't, if you take I take, and if you check with the bishop I can check over here. So this looks winning. And now we have queen to d4. How to continue? I believe I can capture the pawn with a check. King over here, bishop check. The king is forced to go on c8. And then how to continue? Again, I guess I can sacrifice the queen then. Checks, rook check. If the queen falls back, we can capture the queen and its mate. So the king have to fall back. Check. Over here, and we can capture the queen. So eventually at the end of the line, we are like getting a full rook, because we are going to get the rook and the queen for a queen. I'll show you how. Check, check, sacrifice the queen. Basically we got the queen, so basically he has the queen for the rook, but now check and capture the queen. So now we are just complete rook up. So now we have rook e1, and how to win this? So again, starting with checks, there are no real checks. Captures, there are no real captures to be truth in this position. So the only thing that is left is threats. So the threat that I'm already able to see, one threat is to play bishop f5. If I first count the material, like black is having 5 pawns, white is also having 5 pawns. So material wise, we have a even position. Bishop f5 attacks the knight and the queen. And if after bishop f5, white starts with the check, something like, I don't know, maybe 97 check, we can at least take and maybe just take over here. Because of rook check, we can take over here, yeah. So it all makes perfect sense to me. Bishop f5, and basically the queen cannot really protect it, so it's winning. And here, yeah, I have calculated 97 because we can capture it. Knight takes, we can actually capture the knight. And the point here is, if the rook takes, we can take over here. Takes, and we are exchange up, like we are piece up. And if white also captures the bishop, with the idea of if we capture the queen, white can capture the queen, and it's an even position. But the point here is, if the queen captures the bishop, sorry about that, we can actually first capture the rook and then capture the queen, and then we are a rook up. Let me show you. Takes, and then we are simply a bishop up. So yeah, this is how we continue. So how to win this? We have rook to f5. So starting with some check, there are, I believe, kind of 3 checks available. Like if you can include 4 check, but this check is nothing that happens. Coming to the third check is like, second check is rook h7, but still it doesn't seem anything sensible because after king h7 nothing is happening. We are kind of out of check. So the only moves left are knight f7 and knight g6. So yeah, how to continue? If I start with knight g6 check, the king can come over here, and we can actually capture the rook this time. Maybe. Maybe, yeah. And if we capture the knight over here, how can we continue? I'm thinking this check, but the queen can simply fall back. So how to continue is the question. Okay. So I believe check is not really working. I'm able to see the second option, which is threat. The threat that comes to my mind is rook into g5, because like if it takes the knight, we can take, and if it takes the rook, we can actually give a check, and once the king moves, we can capture the rook. So it does make sense, and it's winning. So now we have queen to b5, and now I believe this is already winning. It's a check. So white have to take. We can check. We can take over here, and now like our king is just up on it much faster. We just need to calculate a bit. It takes, check, takes. The king comes over here. We push. But I believe it's completely winning. We are having 2 pawns, knight versus a pawn. It's winning. Let's push the pawn and make a queen. Takes 6. And now we have a knight into e6. So is there any way I can forcefully mate him? Yes, there is definitely the way. I can sacrifice the rook, give a check, and mate him over here. Okay, now we have bishop into b6. Yeah. First calculating the material, white is having 2 pieces, rook, queen. Black is having 4 pawns, white is having 5 pawns. How to win this? First, always starting with check. Like there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 checks available in this position. So starting with bishop h2 check, white can capture it. And we can actually, okay, we can't really play it. Okay, it's not working. So yeah, it's not really working. But I'm actually able to see this very nice move, which is bishop check, takes, and check over here. Okay, king h1 and nothing has happened. Once again. So I guess bishop h2 is not really working. Calculating rook e1, and yep, nothing is happening once again. So can I capture the pawn or something and win the game with the check? Like first calculating knight into h3, king f1 is my intuition, but okay, it's not really made because the bishop on b6 is covering the f2 square. So king f1, is there any resource available in the position that we are not able to see? I believe not. So first thinking of knight f3 check. If king f1, now is there a way to win? I'm able to see this check, but the king is forced to go over here. But the question still remains the same: how to checkmate him? Like I can't really capture the bishop because queen takes, and it's a big problem now. The king is extremely exposed up. So there should be something. There needs to be something. Maybe bishop h2 check. I'm feeling bishop h2 check, king h2, but knight f3 check, king h1. How to continue? Like okay, if we give white to move, white would like to capture the pawn, take, and start with some checks ideas. Though there is no real good check, so I guess we can actually create a thread because we are not really getting mated because after takes checks there are no checks. White needs one more move, so we can actually create a thread. But the question is how to create the thread. Yep. So I'm able to see this knight h3, king f1, and just moving the knight away. Our idea is to checkmate over here. So if the king falls back, we can give a check and again gain meter. And if we check the pawn, we can actually check it back with some deadly ideas, with some bishop h2, queen h2 coming up. So it looks winning. If I compare it with knight h3 check, takes, check, white is having this pawn push. Takes, check. Okay, it was a wrong move. I believe the winning move was knight h3, king h3, knight h3, gh3, bishop h2, king h2, queen f2.